Shalom family, welcome back. We're back to, this is the third part of the reading of the Doctrine of Addai the Apostle. We're going to go back to where we left off last time. We left off at, matter of fact, let me cross that out so I don't confuse myself later on. We left off on page 42. But like last time, I'm going to backtrack to page 41 first. And I guess, I don't know, I might just start back at the top here. Well, right here on 41. Yeah, I will. Beware of the pagans too, for they worship the sun and the moon, and Bel and Nebo, and the rest of those which they call gods, even though they are not gods in their nature. Run away, therefore, from them. For they worship creatures and things made by human hands. And as I said to you before, the main purpose for which our Master came into the world was that creatures might not again be worshipped and glorified because they exist by the approval of their Creator. And when He wills, He destroys them and makes them disappear, and they are as if they were not. For the will of He who made all creatures has freed human beings. Let me go back. For the will of He who made all creatures has freed human beings from the yoke of the heathenism of the creatures. For you know that those who honor the servants of a king together with the king will find in their worship their own death by the sword. Do not search for hidden things, and do not inquire after secret things, which are written in your holy books. Do not establish judgment over the words of the prophets. Remember and reflect that they are said by the Spirit of God. Remember and reflect that they are said by the Spirit of God. And he who lays blame on the prophets lays blame on the Spirit of God. May we refrain from that, for the ways of the Master are straight, and the virtuous walk on them is without stumbling. Only the unbelievers stumble on them, because they do not possess the secret eye of the secret mind, which has no need of questions that bring no profit, but only loss. Remember that by establishing judgment over the prophets and over the word of our Master, which has created all words, including yours, the Master will judge you by fire, and all people will be tried by it. For that reason, consider yourselves to be more than travelers and sojourners, who tarry for a night before returning early to their homes. Think that from here you shall go forth to the place where the sun went to prepare a dwelling for every one of you, as in the case of kings whose armies go forth before them and set up for them a dwelling place of honor. As for our king, look, he has gone to prepare for those who believe in him consecrated mansions, so that they may dwell therein. For God did not create the children of men in vain, but to worship and glorify him, both here and in the hereafter. As he has eternal life, so shall have those who do not cease worshiping him. As for my near death, which will be the result of the affliction that has bound me to my bed, consider it just a night's sleep, and let it be well regarded in your eyes. And remember that with the torment of the sun, death, which had snatched away the children of humankind, passed away for good. And Satan, who causes many to err and struggle with truthfulness, so that they may be in the wrong, is as if dead. And like a husband who plows the land, and looking back sees that the furrows are not straight, so also who have been called to this gift of the ministry, be watchful therefore, so that you do not trouble yourselves with the things of this world, lest inadvertently you be hindered as to that to which you have been called. As to the great men and judges who have embraced this faith, love them, but with a truthful heart, and if they sin, rebuke them, but with justice. Show them plainly your righteousness, so that they may be corrected. In this way they will never again conduct themselves after their own accord. This concern you must have as long as you live, so that all of you may seek only what is honest, as you also advise others in respect to them. It is in these things that people find their life before God. As for the law and the prophets and the gospel which you read every day before the people, and the epistles of Paul, which Simon Peter sent us from the city of Rome, and the Acts of the 12 apostles, which John the son of Zebedee sent us from Ephesus. Read these books in the churches of Christ, but no others beside these. For the truth that you hold is not written in any other book. Only these books shall keep you in the faith to which you have been called. And our master King Abgar and his honored court, who have heard that which I have spoken before you today, are adequate witnesses for me. Hold on. And our master King Abgar and his honored court, who have heard that which I have spoken before you today, are adequate witnesses for me after my passing, in order to confess that I have thoroughly preached the teachings of our master before everyone, and that I have not acquired any material goods in this world by making use of his word. For his word by which I have become satisfied was plenty for me, and I have made many rich by preaching it to them. For it raises me so that I go forth before Christ, who has sent after me, and thus, hold on, let me go back. For it raises me so that I go forth before Christ, who has sent after me, and thus, by it, I will have the power to go to him. For you know that which I have said to you, that all souls which depart from this body do not perish, but they will live and ascend, and have mansions, and an abode for rest, since the understanding and acumen of the soul do not cease. Since the understanding and acumen of the soul do not cease, because the image of God is reflected in it, and therefore it does not die. For the soul is not like the body, that is without feeling. For the body does not perceive the horrible corruption that has come upon it, and the soul is unable to receive any reward and recompense without the body. Because the labor for that prize is not solely its own, but also that of the body in which it lived. But the disobedient who do not know God become penitent, then to no avail. But the disobedient who do not know God become penitent, then to no avail. You truly, who are of Christ, whose wonderful name dwells in your heart, and is its ruler, he will direct you in the way of truth, in which you will travel, and will disembark and attain to that which is promised and kept for those who do not stray him from his path, but live instead according to what they have been called to by our master. The moment Addai the apostle had finished his teaching, he fell silent. And Agai, maker of the king's vestments, and Paulut, and Bershelema, with the rest of their companions, answered in this way to Addai the apostle: Christ himself has testified that he sent you to us, and you have taught us the true faith, and have made us obtain the true life, as we have heard from you and received so much, and all this time you have been with us, so that we can enjoy each day of our lives. And from the adoration of things made and created, which our fathers worship, we turn around, and from the Jews, the crucifiers, we will stand away. And this legacy which we have received from you, we shall not let go. But with it we shall leave this world. And in the day of our master, before the judgment throne of uprightness, there will he return to us this legacy, as that of which you have spoken to us. When he finished speaking, King Abgar stood up, and so did the princes and all the nobles of his court. And he went to his own palace, and all of them grieved over him, for he was at death's door. And he sent him admirable and precious garments in which to be buried. And when Addai saw them, he sent word to him, informing him that he had never taken anything from him, and he was not willing to falsify in him the word of Christ, who said to him, Do not receive anything from human beings, and do not acquire anything in this world. And 3 days after Addai the apostle had said these things, and he had heard and received the testimony of the doctrine of his teaching, from the sons of his ministry before all the nobles. He left this world. It was the 5th day of the week, on the 14th day of the month of May. And the whole city was in great distress and bitter pain. Not only Christians mourned him, but also the Jews and heathens who dwelt in the city. King Abgar and his sons mourned him more than anyone. King Abgar and his sons mourned him more than anyone in the kingdom. And in the grief of his mind, Abgar loathed and abandoned the honor of his royalty on that day. And with woeful tears he wept over him like an ordinary citizen. And all the people of the city, when they saw him, wondered at how much he suffered because of his death. And with great and outstanding honor he carried him to the burial place, as though he were of royal statues. And he placed him in a beautifully sculpted tomb, in which those of the dynasty of Aryu, the ancestors of the father of King Abgar, had been laid to rest. There he placed him gently with grief and great distress. And all the members of the congregation went to his tomb from time to time, and they prayed there arduously. And the memorial of his death they observed every year according to the command and teaching received by them from Addai. And the memorial of his death they observed every year, according to the command and teaching received by them from Addai, the apostle, and according to the word of Agai, who was now the guide and head of their church, invested by the hand of the priesthood, which he had received from him in front of everyone. At this time Agai, by the same hand from which he had received the gift of priesthood, made priests and chiefs in all the region of Mesopotamia. For they too, even as Addai, the apostle, took his word, and heard and received, considering him a true and faithful heir of the apostle of the worshipful Christ. He, however, did not take gold and silver from anyone, and the gifts of the princes he refused. For he enriched the church of Christ with the souls of the faithful, not with gold and silver. And all chiefs of men and women were modest, and well behaved, and holy and pure. And they lived by themselves, and unassumingly without blemish, in decent vigilance of the ministry, taking care of the sick and poor. And their acts were full of the praise of all those who saw them, and their words were honored by the strangers who met them, so that even the priests of the temple of Nebo and Bel glorified them at all times, because of their honorable aspects, truthful discourse, the self-reliance which they possessed in their freedom, which was not the slave of avarice, and was not spotted by any guilt. For all those who saw them were eager to meet them and greet them with great honor, for even the sight of them veiled one in much composure. For their words of peace were spread like nets over the unruly, when they were entering the fortress of truth and certainty. For there was no human being who saw them, and was embarrassed by them, because they performed neither unjust deeds nor inappropriate ones. And as a result, they appeared always open in the preaching of their doctrine to every person. For whatever they said to others, and however they guided them, they exhibited the same by their own acts. And as to the hearers, who saw that their acts were in accord with their words, many became their disciples without urging, and confessed Christ the King, praising God who had turned them to him. Many years after the death of King Abgar, one of his disobedient sons, who was not submissive to the truth, arose and sent word to Agai when he was sitting in the church, "Make me headbands of gold, like those which you made for my forefathers." Agai spoke to him the following: "I shall not desert the ministry of Christ, which has been entrusted upon me by the disciples of Christ, and make headbands of impiety." And when he saw that Agai had not obeyed him, he sent for him and broke his legs, as he was sitting in the church preaching. And as he was dying, he made Paulu and Bershelemah swear that they would bury him in that house, for whose name he was about to die. And as he made them swear, they placed him within the middle door of the church, between the men and women. And there was great and bitter sorrow in all the church, and all over the city. There was indeed much anguish and inner torment, more than when Addai the apostle died. Since the crushing of his legs killed him swiftly and unexpectedly, he was unable to place the hand of the priesthood on Paulut. Paulut himself went to Antioch and received the hand of the priesthood from Serapion, bishop of Antioch. Serapion, bishop of Antioch himself received the hand of the priesthood from Zephyrinus, bishop of the city of Rome. From the succession of the hand of the priesthood of Simon, Cephas, which he received from our master, who was their bishop of Rome for 25 years in the days of Caesar, who ruled Rome for 13 years. And as is the custom in the country of King Abgar, and in all kingdoms, that everything which the king commands and everything that is said before him is written down and placed in the archives, so also Labubana, the son of Senach, the son of Abshadar, the royal scribe, wrote these words about Addai the apostle, from the beginning to the end. Then Hanan, the keeper of the archives, put the hand of witness and placed it in the archives containing all royal documents, wherein are kept the commands and laws, and the contracts of those who buy and sell, being kept with great care and without any negligence. The end of the doctrine of Addai the apostle. Alright, family, I gotta learn to look at this camera. I'm done. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, or I hope something clicked in you, or you got something, because I definitely got something from it. This is my first time reading it. I don't know what we're going to read next time. I think maybe, oh yeah, I think, you know what, I'm going to do a lot of different books. I'm not just, because I've got, man, some of them are going to take a long time to go through to read. So, I'm just going to do different books. I might do 2 different books every other, a day or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, family. Anyway, family, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to my channel, Sectarian Wisdom. I'm Elijah. Be blessed, family. I'll talk to you later. Shalom.